Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another achievement guide in the Pillars of Eternity Complete Edition. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the Explorer achievement. If you unlock this, you will get 75 gamer score, and you do so by visiting every map in the game, excluding all of the locations in the White March. So what are all of these locations? Well, with this being an older game, some resources and some information are a little bit harder to come by. And because I think the game started as a PC game, some of the information that you may find relates to the PC version and doesn't apply to this complete edition on the Xbox. However, I was able to find a very helpful resource for this specific achievement. On the Steam community forum for Pillars of Eternity, there is a post by Erratic, so I want to give them a shout out, that has a list of all of the locations in the base game, and they're kind of using this based on the file name. So there's like numbers and then name locations that are in the game files. That is how they correlated this list to the list of all the locations. Those names and the numbers, they don't match up super well. Like most of them are the same and you can figure them out, but there's some weird ones in there that don't map one-to-one with the location in the game. So there's a little bit of guesswork and they're in some weird order, but I'm gonna try to address that in this video. The locations in the base game, there are, by my count, 153 of them. The list that I found has 152. There's one additional location, which I do believe counts, and it's specifically the Yenwood battlefield. If you do the storyline and the missions to secure the keep, the Cadnua castle, the last thing you do is have this big battle. It's on a special map that you will unlock for this one specific event, and that also counts, but it's not on this list. So at the end of the day, the list that I'm gonna have has 153 locations, but I think you only need to go to 152, so you do have one little bit of wiggle room in there. Now, I do want to start by saying that this achievement would not really be much of a problem if it wasn't for the buggy nature of the game. It is a little bit of an administrative headache to have a list of 153 and track it and cross them off and make sure you don't make a mistake, because if you make one or two mistakes, you might be missing one, and then you try to complete the game and you don't get the achievement, and now, oh crap, what did I miss? Do I have to go back through, right? A little bit of an admin headache, but not difficult. However, as I will be saying in all of the achievement videos for this game, the achievements are bugged and broken. When the game closes, so not a smart resume, but if the game actually closes, that can be due to a crash, which unfortunately happens all the time in this game. It can be due to the power going out on your Xbox, a system restart. Sometimes just when, instead of doing a smart resume, the game will close. Anytime you see the title screen of the game, that's a close, and the achievements that you were working on are broken. So if you've been to 100 of the 153 locations, you have a game close or a game crash, forget it. That counter has reset to 0 and you can't go revisit those locations to count it up again. I tried that. It didn't work. It has to be a fresh gameplay. You discover the location the first time you get there, and you have to discover all of them in one playthrough without any crashes breaking up your chain. So with that in mind, we want to be efficient. In my experience, crashes are most common when you're doing a map load, a change from one location to another. There's a loading screen, and then you load into the new map. That seems to be the most common time. It's not the only time, but it's the most common time that these crashes happen. So we've got at least 153 chances during this achievement for the game to crash and for our progress to be lost, which is really unfortunate and really frustrating. So, of course, the main goal then in this playthrough is going to be to minimize backtracking. Whenever we go to a location, we want to do everything that we can there on that one visit and try to avoid having to leave and come back, because now you're just reloading a map. You're giving yourself another chance for a crash without advancing this quest. In addition, when you go to one of the larger maps, I'll call it a hub map that has several locations that spring off of it. So the easy ones to talk about are like the big locations in the main town in Defiance Bay. There's Copper Lane, which is like the town, and then there's 8 locations within it, each person's individual house and the inn and the catacombs, right? All of those are ones that you enter from that main map and exit back to that main map. So when you get to Copper Lane, try to visit all of the locations there and then come back out, and then you can leave Copper Lane for good and never have to come back. You're not going to be able to do that perfectly. There's some things in the main story that just kind of have baked into them some returning to locations, but we want to minimize it as much as possible. Now, in terms of what counts as one of the ticks for this achievement, there's two kind of discoveries that pop up down in your little battle log in the corner of the map. When you load into a map for the first time, so like the whole map, if you go to the map, you get the map screen. When you enter a new map for the first time, you'll get this little pop-up that says new map location discovered. It's in yellow text and it's down there and it'll say Copper Lane, right? Now you've discovered Copper Lane, you can cross that one off your list. However, some maps also have locations within them that don't load a new map. So there's there's like a field or a crossroads that loads and gives you a location discovery when you get there. And then down in the corner, there may be a bear cave. And when you get close to the cave, you haven't changed maps, you've just gotten close to the cave, you'll get a little pop-up that says new location discovered, bear cave. That doesn't count. If you enter the bear cave and now you're inside the cave after a loading screen, and now if you pull up your map, now your map is the cave, not just the big field with the entrance to the cave. Now you're in the cave, you'll get that new location discovered or new map discovered bear cave. Now you can cross the bear cave off your list as well. So there's two kind of pop-ups that you get, and only one of them counts. It's when you enter a map for the first time, not when you just get close to some point of interest within that map. Now, as I said, there are, by my count, 153 total locations. And so I went through and did all of these. Down in the comments, I have my list and order roughly. It's not perfect, but it's kind of the order that I went in to get these unlocked somewhat efficiently. It's not perfect. You could do it better, but it's a good way to do it without a ton of backtracking. And by following this list, I did do the Yenwood battle, which I've included on my list here for you. When I got to the second to last location, so there is a point of no return in the game, and the last, I think it's 4 locations are behind that point of no return. So you have to have every other location done, do all of them in order, go everywhere, make sure you load up every map location, do the quests related to the point of no return. You've got to get the favor of a god before you jump in a pit or you will die, and then go into the pit and get those last 4. And again, because I did Yenwood, I think I was one ahead when I entered the second to last location with 1 still left, the achievement unlocked. I didn't have to finish the game or defeat the final boss or anything like that. I got that achievement. It popped as soon as I went into that second to last map. I will throw this out there. This is a little weird. There's a little bit of, like I said, it relates to the story that I just talked about there. I'm going to try not to go too deep into spoilers. I did a run previous to the one that worked to try and unlock this achievement. And I did the same thing. I followed the same list. I was very careful in my admin and making sure I crossed off the list. What I did first is I tried to jump in the pit without securing the favor of the gods. I just wanted to see if it worked, and it didn't. I got a "you died, game over," and it went back to the title screen. And then I reloaded my save, finished, went to the last couple of locations, did not get the achievement. So I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I want to put this in there. Don't jump into the pit on the Explorer Run playthrough. It might break your achievement. I'm not 100% sure, but it's the only explanation for what I have. I then did a fresh save, a fresh restart, ran through the whole thing in one go, got all of the locations, and the second time I did it, it worked. And the first time I didn't, and that's the only difference. I got that kind of game over screen from jumping in the pit without having the required blessing to do so. The last little caveat that I'll give here, because I mentioned earlier that information on this game is a little bit hard to find and some of it relates to the PC. So I had some conflicting information out there that I want to debunk in this achievement guide. The achievement is very explicit about visit every location excluding the White March. And that is literally what you need to do. But I did see some resources online say, hey, I was unlocking my achievement when I was playing through the White March area. It seemed to be, there was this theory that, say you visited 140 locations in the base game, the non-White March areas, and then you started playing the White March DLC. When you got to 152 total locations. So you visited a dozen or so of the White March locations. It was getting 152 total locations and giving you the achievement. Again, these are some reports and some stories I saw from other people online. I tried that and it didn't work. Again, I went all the way up to that end game point of no return. So I had 4 locations left. I was at 149 or 150. I went into the White March area and explored 20 locations, give or take. So well over the 150 threshold. Never got the achievement. Reloaded, or then I finished the story, went into the pit, found those last couple of locations, and the achievement popped again as soon as I got to the second last one of them. So I think only the base game locations count. You don't need Crag Holt's hold. You don't need anything in the White March. You don't ever need to talk to Cadnua to advance those DLC quests. You can completely ignore that, and I recommend you do, because the game seems to have a higher chance to crash when going into the White March areas. So I would forget that for this playthrough. Again, you don't need to defeat the final boss. You don't need to defeat any specific enemies. You do have to go all the way through Cadnua, and there are some difficult fights going down those levels in the basement, but you don't need to fight the end dragon. You just have to get to level 15, pop the map location, and then get out of there. So don't worry about doing every side quest, making your character super strong. Just be strong enough. Have this on the easiest difficulty, because you don't want to get caught being too weak for something and then have to go grind, because then you're revisiting maps and it's a whole thing. And hopefully, if you're able to follow what I've laid out for you in this video and avoid an unfortunate crash, you'll be able to unlock the Explorer achievement. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.